I am recording this on a cassette tape I found in a dead man's truck. If you are listening to this, do not come to West Virginia. Specifically, stay away from the coordinate lines of Black Creek. My name is Arthur Vance, and I was an investigative journalist. I came here looking for a missing girl named Sarah Miller. Sarah was 22, a geology student who vanished 3 weeks ago. The drive into Black Creek was a descent into a grave. The roads were cracked, overwhelmed by yellow weeds. Fog hung low, smelling of sulfur and rotting eggs. I passed a sign that said, "God is in the soil." The town looked empty, rows of wooden houses with blackened windows. I parked my car near the old church. The silence was absolute. No birds, no crickets. Just a low, vibrating hum coming from beneath the asphalt. I walked to the sheriff's station. The door was unlocked. Inside, papers were scattered everywhere. Coffee cups sat on desks. The liquid inside evaporated into mold. "Hello!" I called out. No answer. Just the settling of old wood. I found a logbook on the desk. The last entry read, "The itching won't stop." I left the station and checked into the only motel, the Miner's Rest. The clerk was an old man, skin gray like ash. He didn't look at me. He stared at a spot on the wall. "Room 4, he wheezed. I noticed his hands were wrapped in dirty bandages. When he handed me the key, a bandage slipped. Beneath the gauze, his skin wasn't wounded. It was patterned with tiny, perfect holes, like a honeycomb made of human flesh. I took the key and walked away quickly. Room 4 was cold, smelling of bleach and copper. I unpacked my gear. Camera, flashlight, handgun. I sat on the bed and reviewed Sarah's last text message. "It's not a mine, it's a throat." Night fell rapidly over the valley. The humming sound outside got louder. It sounded like a million bees trapped in a jar. I couldn't sleep. The air felt heavy. Around 2 a.m., I heard scratching at my door. Not a knock, but fingernails dragging on wood. I grabbed my gun and approached the peephole. The hallway was empty, but there was a wet trail on the carpet, a slime, translucent and sticky. I opened the door. The hallway lights flickered. I followed the slime trail. It led to room 6, 2 doors down. The door to room 6 was ajar. I pushed it open with the barrel of my gun. The room was covered in organic matter. Something was growing on the walls. It looked like coral, but it was breathing. In the center of the room lay a shape. It was a dog, a German shepherd. But it was wrong. It was bloated, twice its normal size. Its fur was falling out in clumps. I stepped closer, covering my nose. The dog's stomach was moving, rippling. Suddenly, the dog's skin split open. No blood came out. Instead, a cloud of yellow spores puffed into the air. I coughed, waving the dust away. Inside the dog's cavity, there were no organs, just a nest, thousands of white larvae writhing together. They were eating the dog from the inside out. I stumbled back, gagging. I ran back to my room and locked the door. I went to the bathroom to wash my face. I looked in the mirror. My eyes were red, bloodshot, and there, on my cheek, was a small bump. It looked like a pimple. I pressed it. It didn't pop. It moved away from my finger. Something was under my skin. Panic set in. I grabbed a razor blade. My hand was shaking violently. I sliced into my own cheek. Pain flared, hot and sharp. I dug into the wound with tweezers. I pulled out a small, black seed. It was hard, like stone. I dropped it in the sink. The seed unfurled legs and scuttled down the drain. I realized then, I was already infected. Morning came, but the sun didn't rise. The sky was a bruised purple color. The fog was thicker, entering the room through the vents. My cheek was throbbing. I checked the mirror again, where I had cut myself. 3 new holes had formed. They were perfectly round, the size of dimes. I could see muscle tissue inside, but no blood. I had to leave. Now. I grabbed my bag and ran to the car. The motel parking lot was full of people. The townspeople were standing in a circle. They were swaying back and forth. The motel clerk was there. He turned to look at me. His bandages were gone. His face was a crater. Half his jaw was missing, replaced by yellow wax. "The Queen is hungry," he got. I jumped into my car and turned the key. The engine sputtered and died. The clerk pointed a finger at me. The crowd rushed the car. They didn't scream. They hissed. Hands smashed against the windows. Their hands were fused together. Fingers melted into clubs. I fired my gun through the glass. One man fell, a hole in his chest. He didn't die. He just stood back up, yellow fluid leaking from the bullet hole. I kicked the door open, knocking 2 of them back. I ran. I ran towards the woods. My lungs burned. The air was full of spores. I could feel the holes in my cheek expanding, itching, burning, stretching. I stumbled into the dense tree line. The trees here were wrong too. Their bark was soft, like flesh. The leaves were black and dripping. I found a small hunting cabin and broke in. I barricaded the door with a heavy table. I collapsed on the floor, gasping. I needed to see the wound. I found a cracked mirror in the cabin. I screamed. The holes had spread to my neck, a cluster of 6 holes, arranged in a hexagon. I could feel wind moving through my neck. I touched it. My fingers went inside. Whatever was inside me had eaten my vocal cords. I tried to speak, but only a wheeze came out. I was becoming a flute for the wind. I searched the cabin for medical supplies. Nothing. Just a diary on the table. It belonged to Sarah Miller. I opened it with trembling hands. Day 10. The soil is alive. Day 15. I saw him in the mines. Day 20. I am beautiful now. I am a vessel. The last page was just a drawing of a giant, pulsing heart underground. Suddenly, the floorboards beneath me creaked. Not from weight, from pressure below. The wood splintered. Roots shot up from the ground. But they weren't plant roots. They were veins. Giant, blue, pulsing veins. They wrapped around my legs. I hacked at them with my knife. Black blood sprayed into my eyes. It burned like acid. I was blind. I crawled blindly towards the back door. I heard the door crash open. The townspeople were here. I couldn't see them, but I could smell them. They smelled like honey and rotting meat. Strong hands grabbed me. They didn't hit me. They lifted me up gently. "Do not struggle," a voice whispered. It was Sarah's voice, but it sounded like it was coming from a radio. "We are going to the hive." I felt myself being carried downhill into the earth. The temperature dropped. The humming sound became a roar. I passed out from the pain in my face. The incubation was over. The hatching had begun. I woke up in darkness. My vision had returned, but everything was yellow. I was deep underground. The walls of the cave were lined with a translucent slime. I tried to move my arms. I couldn't. I was encased in the wall, glued to the rock by a hard, resin-like substance. Only my head was free. I looked around. I wasn't alone. There were hundreds of us, people embedded in the walls like trophies. Some were dead skeletons. Some were still alive, eyes wide with madness. Their bodies were riddled with holes. Insects the size of cats crawled over them. These things looked like ticks, but with human faces. They were feeding on the people in the walls, nursing from the holes in their flesh. I looked down at my own chest. My shirt was gone. My torso was a honeycomb. I felt no pain anymore, just a cold emptiness. My heart was exposed. beating sluggishly behind a rib cage that was dissolving. Sarah walked towards me. She was naked, but she wasn't exposed. Her skin was a suit of armor made of kitten. Wings sprouted from her shoulder blades. "Arthur," she smiled. Her teeth were needle-sharp. "You made it?" "What is this?" I rasped through the holes in my neck. "Evolution," she said. She pointed to the center of the cavern. There was a pit, a massive hole that seemed to go down to the core of the earth. From the pit rose a sound, a song. Low bass heavy, vibrating my very bones. "The mother is singing," Sarah said. "She has been asleep for eons. Now she wakes to reclaim the surface." I watched as a group of townspeople approached the pit. They held hands. Without hesitation, they jumped. They didn't scream. They laughed. The pit swallowed them. A wet, crunching sound echoed up. "They are feeding her," Sarah explained. She placed a hand on my forehead. Her hand was hot, feverish. "And you, Arthur, you are special." "Why?" I asked. "Because you are a storyteller." She reached into her own chest. She pulled out a pulsating, black sack. "You will carry," her message. She pushed the sack into the large hole in my chest. It slid inside next to my heart. I felt it attached to my spine. A surge of energy shot through me. My vision sharpened. I could see the atoms in the air. I could hear the thoughts of the insects. "Feed. Multiply. Consume. Go," Sarah whispered. The resin holding me to the wall dissolved. I fell to the ground. My legs felt strong. Unnatural. I looked at my hands. My fingers were long claws now. "Go back to the surface," she commanded. "Tell them what you saw. Make them curious. Bring them here." I ran. I ran up the tunnels, faster than a human could run. I climbed the mine shafts. Like a spider, I burst out of the ground into the night air. I ran to my car. It started instantly. The machine obeyed me. I drove away from Black Creek. But I didn't go to the police. I didn't go to the hospital. I came here, to this recording studio. Because the thing inside my chest is vibrating. It wants me to share this story. It knows that by listening to my voice, the spores are transmitting. Through the speakers, into your ears, into your brain.